Something that is unique to us humans as opposed to every other animal that's ever existed is that we feel the need to understand everything, even stuff that doesn't really seem inherently important to us at the time. I mean, this is really obvious if you ever have a conversation with a toddler or just a small child, because they will just be asking you why about every single thing that they see and hear. If you take a cat, for example, it doesn't care where its food comes from as long as it has enough and it's good food. It's not going to ask, where is this coming from? It is just happy. But us humans, we're different. We ask these questions, and we just try to work absolutely everything out. And unfortunately, this makes us look very, very silly in hindsight a lot of the time. Think about superstitions. Things like black cats being bad luck and not walking under a ladder. And I don't know, I heard one of my friends from Serbia say that if you have cold feet, you get infertile as a woman. Superstition sounds kind of crazy to me, but I think we're all much more superstitious than we realize. Superstition is a kind of belief in something that isn't really true. And normally we think superstition comes because of magic or supernatural powers, but really all superstition is taking a cause and an effect and matching them up when that's not really true. And I think we do this a lot in modern society. Think about how many fad diets there are. If fad diets worked, there wouldn't be a million of them. There'd be one that worked. And yet we're so superstitious on everyone doing, their ketogenic diets or their carnivore diets. These are the modern equivalents of superstition, and I think that we all, even if we consider ourselves 0% superstitious, like I do, can fall into these traps all the time. I'm pretty confident that in 100 or 200 years' time, if people looked back on my set of beliefs and values in, science and medicine and all these important things, they would think I am as barbaric and strangely superstitious as I look back on people from the 1800s. Let me give you an example. So, in the 1800s, like I was saying, they used to use a lot of leeches in medicine. They used leeches for pretty much everything, and leeches were going endangered in the wild. They became hard to find because they were using so many of them in medicine. You use them for pretty much everything. If it was like obesity or cancer or even just simple things like headaches and high blood pressure and all this stuff, there was a leech treatment for pretty much everything. And sometimes people would die because of these leech treatments, but it was the best idea they had at the time. Now let's take that into the modern age. Let's compare this to something that we think works at the moment, surgery. I mean, it does work pretty well, but there's going to be a better way. We use surgery like they use leeches. We use it for pretty much everything, whether it be, obesity, cancer, all the things I mentioned earlier. We use surgery for everything. You can die from it because of infections and, anesthesia. It has inherent dangers that you might die of. And I think that in 100 or 200 years, if we can invent technology that means we don't have to slice people open in order to help them out, we're going to do that, and we're going to think of surgery as absolutely insane and barbaric. So now that we kind of understand that we're going to be seen as superstitious and barbaric and silly by people of the future, what do we do with this information? Do we just stop trying to learn new things because there's no point, I'm just going to be proven wrong in a few years? Or do we just give up trying to become good at things, like giving up becoming a surgeon because people are going to laugh at you in 100 years? Well, no, of course not. That would be silly. Our current best idea of things is what makes the world go around. Brain surgery isn't perfect. You have to cut someone's head open, remove a piece of their skull, and then play with their brain. But it still saves lives, and the people who do that are regarded in such high regard in society, and we need them. We love them for it, and we need them. We have to use our best ideas at any time to make any kind of progress towards actual truth and knowledge. It's like the classic of people looking down on science because science just says, I'm just supporting a theory, I'm not proving anything. And people use that as ammunition to be like, oh yeah, I don't believe that because you said it's just a theory. Think people talking about, evolution. Scientists don't say this because they're not intelligent enough to actually prove it. They say it because they're intelligent enough to know that over the years, things have been proven wrong time and time and time again, and that will probably happen to your theory as well. But it is our current best idea of understanding. There are so many figures in history who are household names for being influential on the human race and knowledge in general, who were so wrong about so many things. If you take, say, Aristotle, a very famous Greek philosopher and kind of scientist. Now, he thought that eels just spontaneously popped out of the mud. He didn't think that they reproduced because he was cutting them open and he couldn't find their gonads like he could in other fish. Now, it turns out that this is not true. We know that eels do reproduce, but we now know that they have an extremely complicated life cycle, so it was kind of hard for him to work it out at the time. But do we hold this against Aristotle for not knowing this? No, because he was doing his best. He was out there cutting open eels and looking what's inside them. He was asking the questions, and then he gave his opinion, and then people came back in the future and proved him wrong. And at cost of him being wrong, the whole human race has become more intelligent for that. So we have to thank him for it. Look up any great names of, philosophy or science from back in the day, and there are a lot of things that they would have been wrong about. But the fact that they were willing to be wrong about is important in itself. So what's the moral of the story? How can you apply this to your life? Well, everything that you state as fact and think of as fact is probably not quite right. But that's okay. You still have to be bold with what you think to be true, but you have to be ready to accept that you're wrong sometimes and be able to change your mind. It's something that I'm currently working on, and it's hard. It's really hard to just be like, yep, I'm wrong, but it's extremely important. Being confident in yourself while admitting that you're probably wrong about everything is a strange and cruel paradox about the reality that we're in. But our willingness to be wrong and just run with it is what makes humans so successful as a species. We will try pretty much anything, and if it's wrong, so be it, we'll take the L. But on the odd occasion that we seem to be right about something, it's amazing. Think about how we populated every tiny island in the Pacific Ocean. How many people just went out on a boat looking for land and did not find shit and died? It's got to be a lot. Those islands are very small in a big ocean. But the ones that succeeded and found a new bountiful land were the lucky ones. It's human nature and it's what makes us so successful. So run with your ideas, do your best. If you're wrong, you got to take the L. But, when you're right, it's glorious. Thanks for watching.